Hey guys, BigDebuffs here, and today we have a FARSEER Resto Shaman PvP guide for the War Within Season 3. Now, it's very early in the season, only week 2, so be careful when you watch this. Anything can get out of date with just a week's tuning. However, right now we're going to go over all the things that I find to be the best for Restoration Shaman currently. I know I'm not the best at guides, but regardless of that, you guys still ask for them, and I try my best to get some quality content out there, quality guides out there. We have timestamps in the description, so in case you want to go ahead to a specific point in the video, you can definitely go ahead and do that. However, I suggest you watch this from start to finish because it's a nice bit of information I have compiled in this guide. Up first, we have the pros and cons. What are the good and bad things about Resto Shaman? Well, the good thing about Resto Shaman is that it's actually doing good healing. FARSEER got a lot of changes in Season 2. Whispering Waves replacing Primordial Wave, and Ancestors themselves getting changed, the way they do healing. However, no matter how good those changes were, you were still missing a crucial part of power. That was your tier bonus. Your tier bonus for Season 2 was specifically made for Totemic, which was really sad. So now that in Season 3, we have hero tree specific tier bonuses. We're finally seeing the real potential of FARSEER. And this tier bonus is amazing. Summoning an extra ancestor that does increased healing and damage. You know, your 4 set giving you the CDR on your Riptide. More healing and more damage. Reduced mana cost. We finally are seeing the full potential of FARSEER that we've been meaning to see for the entirety of this expansion. And with that, FARSEER Resto Shaman is feeling really good. We're actually doing some really good healing. A strong toolkit. This is the iconic power of Resto Shaman. A couple notable pieces of our toolkit. Tremor Totem. Being able to break your entire team out of fears, sleeps, and charms for the next, 13 seconds is pretty powerful. Grounding Totem. A PvP talent. 24-second cooldown. Redirects all direct harmful spells that are aimed at you or your teammates. Redirecting them to the totem for the next 3 seconds. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then you also have a ranged interrupt. You are one of the only healers to have a interrupt in the, history of WoW, of World of Warcraft. And still, I think you have the best interrupt out of any healer. 12-second cooldown, 2-second lockout. Sure, it may not seem like that impactful, like 2 seconds, who cares about that? But still, you're able to just kind of consistently disrupt the enemy team, and it's very annoying just constantly getting sheared on anything, even if it only lasts 2 seconds. Raid-wide cooldowns. This is pretty much a RBG-specific pro, but still, raid-wide cooldowns. Every healer has been meaning to get their hands on raid-wide cooldown, and not every healer does have a raid-wide cooldown. Revival, Divine Hymn, Tranquility, they're all good, but Resto Shaman has 3 raid-wide cooldowns. You have Healing Tide, Ascendance, and Spirit Link Totem. So it's there's some pretty powerful cooldowns to have when you're in a large scale environment like raided battlegrounds. Good CC. Every healer has their own CC toolkit. Resto Shaman, I think, has a pretty unique CC toolkit. You have a polymorph, an AoE stun, and a single target stun. Hex, 30-second cooldown, can be enhanced with Voodoo Mastery. Static Charge or AoE Stun can be enhanced with Static Charge or Guardian Schedule. And then you have Blinding Lasso, which I still think to be one of the strongest stuns in the game, especially available to a healer. 45-second cooldown, deals about 1 million damage over its 5-second duration, and you can move while casting it. Yeah, it's a pretty gnarly stun. The cons of Resto Shaman are historical cons, meaning they haven't changed over the course of Resto Shaman PvP history. Melee cleaves. Melee cleaves are the bane of Resto Shaman's existence. One of the reasons why you die to melee cleave so often is because you can't use any of your skills while stunned. That may sound like, well, yeah, yeah. You shouldn't be able to use any of your abilities while stunned because you're stunned, but a lot of healers actually have ways to counteract stuns. You have Guardian Spirit as a Holy Priest that you can use while stunned. You have Pain Suppression for a Disc Priest that you can use while stunned. Restoral, Divine Protection, Divine Shield, bopping yourself out of stun as a Paladin, and Multi-Communion as a Preservation Evoker, Barkskin as a Resto Druid. Every healer has a ability they can use while stunned, comparatively to Resto Shaman that doesn't have an ability they can use while stunned. That's why you're seeing Resto Shamans pre-use a lot of their cooldowns, like pre-tiding or even pre-linking, so pre-earthening. So that is why Resto Shaman has a very hard time with Mana Cleaves, because you don't have any usable while stunned cooldowns. Following that first con, it is your Trinket. It's the exact same thing. Because you don't have any skills that you can use while stunned, it makes your Trinket that much more valuable. When you use your Trinket as a Resto Shaman, compared to any other healer, it is the most threatening time in a Resto Shaman's life, because it feels like you are on a minute 30 time bomb, where if you get stunned or anything of the sort, you are completely vulnerable to dying or your team dying. So, especially if you don't pre-use your, pre-tide or have an earthen wall down, yeah, it just makes your trinket usage that much more valuable and that much more detrimental if you blow your trinket and you don't really have a good trinket usage. Recovery healing is bad. It's not as bad as it is historically, but it's still very troubling. Recovery healing for Resto Shaman is really bad because you don't have any instant power. You have no instant burst healing. All your cooldowns require ramp up. Healing Ted requires ramp up. Ascendance is just duplicated healing. And Spirit Link is health redistribution, which it's one of the worst. It is the worst health redistribution effects in the entire game. So on top of having no instant burst healing, you have no damage mitigation, like a pain suppression or an iron bark to combat mortal strike effects, because when your healing falls off, when it's by default getting, cut in half by 25% or 50%, then you rely on damage reduction to help get you through that time. So no burst healing, no damage reduction, no external cooldown as Resto Shaman, a bop, lay on hands, a life swap, a pain suppression, an actual external cooldown. My cooldowns are raid wide, rather than, hey, let me use this cooldown on you. I don't have that, so that just makes recovery that much harder when I can't specifically save this teammate with this button. The best race for Resto Shaman, Orc is going to be number one. With your vulnerability in stuns, you have 10% reduced stun duration on Orc, so stuns don't last as long on you comparatively to other races. Blood Fury is basically just another primary stat trinket, an on-use primary stat trinket, so bake that into your Ascendance or your Nature Swiftness. You got some pretty nice healing there. Now, if you're unimaginative, really lame and boring, possibly even ugly, you can go with Alliance. You have both dwarves. Both dwarves can remove any harmful effect on you, whether it's a disease, a poison, a magical effect, a bleed. You can remove them. And being a dwarf will grant you 10% physical damage reduction when you use stone form. And Dark Iron Dwarf will give you primary stat for every harmful effect you remove with your Fire Blood. Note, if you've never played Dwarf, using your Fire Blood or your stone form will put your trinket on a 30-second cooldown. So just remember that. Now, if you don't like Horde, and if you don't like smelly dwarves, you can be a Draenei. This is the weakest of the good races. Draenei has Gift of the Naru, which heals the target for 20% of your health over 5 seconds. So this can be enhanced with stuff like Battlemaster Trinket or your Earth Elemental. It's a pretty good heal. You can use it because you have to pre-use cooldowns as a Resto Shaman, pre-use your Healing Tide, pre-use your Earthen Wall Totem. Gift of the Naru acts in that same way. You can pre-gift a Naru summon before you get hit with that stun or that CC effect, and give your target some bit of safety with a nice little heal there. And then you have a passive that just grants you intellect. Now, going over the gear, the loadout we have on Resto Shaman, we're going to go over the tier pieces. What are the best tier pieces to go for? I went for shoulders and pants for week 1. The shoulders have low haste, high mastery. The pants have high haste, low mastery, so they work well together. For my third piece, I will go for gloves, and helmet and chest are similar. They both have high crit, so whether you want to keep the low verse and the low mastery is honestly up to you. I will go for the low verse, just to kind of keep my verse nice and healthy. Going over the stats, we have mastery, followed by versatility, haste, and critical strike. Now, Mastery is really good because it's just increased healing. Healing from your spells by up to 104% based on the current health of your target. Lower health targets are healed for more. So, really good. That's why Resto Shaman healing is pretty spiky, similarly to a Holy Priest. Then you have Versatility, also really good. Versatility is just your basic PvP stat, increases healing and damage done, and decreases damage taken. With the vulnerability of dying in stuns, you want to have the nice bit of versatility. So I have pretty much Mastery and Versatility kind of going neck and neck, 17,000 and 15,000. Pretty good. Now, Haste is my stat that I really like. This is a very nice stat I like to have. Because you have a lot of globals in Resto Shaman, having some bit of haste really just smooths out the rotation for Resto Shaman and allows you to get more globals in that you wouldn't actually be able to get in with having no haste. So your interrupt, your purges, grounding totems, tremor totems, the quickness of all that is really good. In PvP, I think I have like 127% mastery, 25% versatility, and then like 18% haste. Yeah, 26 versatility, 127% mastery, going over the penalty is at 17% mastery. I just love this. I love having these stats the way they are. This is like my ideal stat line for Resto Shaman. Critical Strike. No one really cares for Critical Strike running in place. Critical Strike. You have stuff that benefits off of Critical Strike. Resurgence. Your direct heal criticals. Refund a percentage of your max mana. 0.80% from Healing Wave. 0.48% from Healing Surge, Unleashed Life, and Riptide, and 0.20% from healing for Chain Heal. Not worth full setting crit. Same thing with Ancestral Awakening. When you heal with your Healing Surge, Riptide, you have a chance to summon an Ancestor that heals an injured ally within 40 yards for 25% of the amount healed. Critical Strikes increase the chance for this to proc. It's just not worth it. You lose a lot of healing by going crit. So, Mastery, Versatility, Haste, no crit. Now, going over crafted gear, very standard. I pretty much only craft my jewelry because the jewelry secondary stats are really high. I have my rings and my necklace. I craft both my rings with Verse Mastery. We also have my Precognition gem as my PvP gem. And then for your other gems, the best, I will say, is Verse Mastery. I feel like that's always been Resto Shaman's best friend, is Verse Mastery. So whenever you get your sockets, the Masterful Sapphire, I believe, is my Verse Mastery gem, is what you're going to be filling up those sockets with. Bloody Token pieces. Bloody Token gear is purely just for early season gear. You're going to replace it with Conquest gear, unless that Bloody Token gear has secondary stats that you like that your Conquest gear doesn't, then you can keep it. But usually it's kind of going from the ground up, buying the weakest pieces first. So the 225 pieces, like the bracers and your cloak, which I don't have a Bloody Token cloak because the rest of your wraps are better. And then the 700 pieces, like your gloves, belt, and boots. I only have Bloody Token braces right now. And then next, I'll probably go for pants. Or not pants, sorry, for like belt or boots, but it's not all that important. You actually see here I have my Reshi wraps rather than like a Bloody Token piece. That's because the Reshi wraps are actually Bloody Token item level. Bloody Token gear is 720 in PvP. My Reshi wraps at rank 5, there's still one more rank after this, is at 720. So pretty good. It's got pretty good stats, pretty good primary stat, pretty decent stamina, but it's the fiber, it's the gem that really brings it all together. You have 4 gems, versatility, mastery, crit, and then haste. You're going to be swapping between verse mastery, whichever one you like. I like having versed. I didn't have any verse last season. I had a lot of mastery, and that wasn't bad, but I really do feel the pain of not having a lot of Verse, so I'm going to be rolling with Verse most likely this season. So I will be rolling with this Verse gem. It has a lot of, 1,700 versatility. Yeah, give me that any day. So I actually have a pure Dexterous fiber. The pure version is stronger than the one you get from the campaign quest. You get the rest of your wraps when you complete Chapter 3 of the campaign quest, which will also get the fiber. the base fiber when you complete the quest is like 1200 of whatever stat you want, and then you can craft the fibers from the crafting girl over here. Doesn't really cost all that much gold to craft the pure fibers. So let me kind of show you just in case you are unaware. I know my game's lagging. That's why I never like to do stuff in capital cities, because my computer is a potato. So you just kind of type in fiber here, and these fibers will pop up. So you can craft and buy all the pieces. They don't cost that much gold, and you can get the better versions of the fiber in your Reshi wraps. I run proc trinket pretty much always. I like having proc trinket. It's just more healing whenever you get your proc. However, you can run battle master trinket if you have been consistently been the kill target in whatever you're facing, be it an RMP or a melee cleave. You can definitely run battle masters for a bit of that extra support. In terms of enchants, I have the basic enchants, my mastery enchants on my rings. You can go for cursed mastery instead rather than radiant mastery. Cursed mastery is a little bit more mastery. It's about 390 mastery, but it saps like saps a little bit of your crit away. So you can go for cursed mastery rather than radiant mastery, which is what I have. Both work just fine. Leggings are obviously going to go for that, for the mana enchant, the 930 intellect and the 5% mana. The Daybreak Spell Thread is what it's called. For your chest, I don't have it on my honor gear because I don't want to enchant honor gear. I think it's just a waste of gold. You will go for Council's Intellect. Those are the two enchants that healers will always need to have. And then for the weak enchants, if you want to go for them, fine. If you don't want to go for them, it literally does not matter. Your cloak, anything speed related, chant Burning Rapidity. 1000 speed on your bracers, I believe it's called Armored Speed. And then boots is like Scout's March of, I think it's just called Scout's March for your boots. For your weapon enchant, Stonebound Artistry is the buy-all default for Resto Shaman, just buffing your mastery. Can never go wrong with that. It's a common theme. So long as your mastery increases your healing, you're probably going to do anything you can to get mastery. So now we're going to go over the build for Resto Shaman. I find this really cool because across your arenas, your shuffle 3s, 2s, Battleground Blitz, RBGs, the build doesn't really change at all, which I think is great because that just saves me multiple videos. So we're going to go over your hero tree first, your shaman tree, then resto tree. So for FARSEER is really good because it has strong consistent healing with proccing all your ancestors. Whenever you cast Unleash Life, you will summon an ancestor, and this ancestor will heal when you heal. So when you cast your heals, your ancestors will cast Healing Surge. If you cast Healing Wave, your ancestor will cast Healing Wave. If you place down a Healing Stream Totem, it'll cast Chain Heal. It's basically mimicking some of your spells. It's a lot of healing. It also has a really strong burst heal with Ancestral Swiftness. This basically enhances your Nature Swiftness, which is a minute cooldown. Makes your next heal cost no mana and be instant. This is a 30-second cooldown. It buffs that heal by 10%. It will also summon an ancestor for 6 seconds. So big burst in healing. Also proccing another ancestor. That's just a lot of healing. You also have a lot of rotational help with having another charge of Riptide that also does more healing with Elmore Reverb. And you have Offering from Beyond, which is Riptide CDR. When your ancestors expire, they will reduce the cooldown of your Riptide by 3 seconds. FARSEER is really good. Going over the talents, we have Routine Communication, Heed My Call. Routine Communication, I find, have the most value. Your Riptide has a chance to proc your ancestors for 6 seconds. Really cool. You're spamming Riptide the entire game, so why not bake a proc into it? Routine Communication is great. Heed My Call. It makes your ancestors last 4 seconds longer, so it's okay. It's pretty interesting that it makes your Unleashed Life Ancestor pretty much last the entire game. Your Unleashed Life Ancestor will last 16 seconds rather than its original 12-second duration, and Unleashed Life is a 15-second cooldown. So you essentially, if you are pressing Unleashed Life off CD, which you should be, will last the entire game. So, pretty cool. I just find to have the proc ancestor have a lot more value, especially when you're getting lucky with procs. Yeah, cast Unleashed Life again, and boom. My my next ancestor comes out. So really good skill, but I like Runic Communication a lot more. Next, we have Latent Wisdom and Ancient Fellowship. Latent Wisdom is really good because this will increase the effectiveness of your ancestors by 25%. So the damage they do and the healing they do will be enhanced by 25%. So I think this is much better than Ancient Fellowship, which will make it so your ancestors have a chance to summon another ancestor when they expire. It's cool. I mean, you could argue that you get some more Offering from Beyond value. However, I just think because ancestors are your top healing, it's kind of a no-brainer to buff that by 25%. Natural Harmony versus Earthling Communion. Very simple. You're running Natural Harmony unless you're running Theras, or unless you're running Reactive Warding, then you run Earthling Communion. The way Earthling Communion works is that your Earth Shield will give you 3 additional charges, as well as heal you for 25% more. With Reactive Warding makes it so whenever you refresh Earth Shield, it'll heal that target for however many stacks are missing. So you can kind of see there, with having more charges of Earth Shield, you're going to be able to do more healing because there's going to be more Earth Shields missing from the target with Reactive Warding. So it's a lot of extra healing. However, if you're not running Reactive Warding and you're instead running Therazanes, which makes it so your Earth Shield and Water Shield have no charges at all, and they're essentially just permanent on that target, then Earthling Communion has no value for that talent. So Natural Harmony it is. Natural Harmony buffs your Nature's Guardian. Your Nature's Guardian is a proc that will heal you for 20% of your maximum health whenever you fall below 35% of your health. This will buff it by an extra 10% and reduces its cooldown. So it'll proc more frequently and it'll heal for more. Going over your Shaman tree, we're going to go over all the flex points. First we have, which we have a lot of flex points by the way, probably the most out of any healer. Plains Traveler. This is a really good talent if you feel like you're going to be the kill target. This just makes your wall more available. So instead of 2 minutes, it'll be a 1.5 minute cooldown. Spirit Walk versus Gust of Wind. Gust of Wind is going to be your main source of mobility. Really good. However, if you're facing a Boomkin, specifically only a Boomkin, this is the only chance where you'll run Spirit Walk. This will help break you out of Root Beam. So unless you have a Paladin on your team that can sank you or Blessing of Freedom you, then you're going to be running Gust of Wind 100% of the time with Spirit Walk versus Boomkins. Static Charge versus Guardian's Cudgel. I like Static Charge pretty much 90% of the time. It is really good when you're facing any pet classes like BM Hunter, Demolock, or Unholy DK. For RPGs, maps like Silvershard Mines and Eye of the Storm, you're going to get pretty much max value off of Static Charge because there's such close quarters fights. You're going to hit all the targets you need to get Static Charge full value. Guardian's Cudgel is okay, but it kind of screws over everybody's stun DR. Greater Purge or Purge. I run Greater Purge always. Very rarely you're going to sit there and actually spam purge someone. That's just going to you, and by that point you're probably going to get caught on it and you're not going to have like any healing out. So I run Greater Purge because you can actually weave this into your rotation. You know, Riptide, Healing from Totem, Greater Purge, you know, Riptide, Unleash Life, Riptide, Greater Purge. So a really good purge. I think this is the only healer that actually has a different form of purge. Windrush Totem and Jetstream. Pretty nice combination. This makes it so your Windrush Totem that will speed everybody up, increasing their movement speed by 40%, which refreshes every 5 seconds. Jetstream will increase the bonus by 10%, so it'll be 50% increased movement speed, and it'll also remove snares off of your allies. So every time the buff refreshes, they will get their snares removed. So whether that's a Frost Mage snare, a Rogue snare, whatever it may be, it will not get rid of roots, but it'll get rid of slows. So it's a pretty nice talent to have. So if you're facing like a very slow heavy comp, you know, like a Frost Mage, you know, RMP, or you're facing against an Arcane Mage and you're running a melee comp, or hell, you're facing a melee comp and you're playing a Caster Cleave and you want to get your casters moving, Windrush Totem is nice to have. Enhanced Imbues. This is purely just a flex point because it's better than other talents. Nothing about Enhanced Imbues is actually really amazing. It just increases your Earthling weapon effect by 20%, so a little bit of extra healing. Voodoo Mastery. Great talent. This is a 2s talent in my opinion. I pretty much only run this for 2s, and for RBGs, I run it if I think I'm going to be able to just, get a lot of hexes in there. If I feel like I'm not going to be that far behind on healing. Traveling Storms is really great for peels, whether you're facing against a melee cleave and you're a melee cleave, or you're facing a melee cleave while you're a caster cleave. Traveling Storms is great for peels. This will make it so your Thunderstorm will actually work on your allies and will knock the targets even further. So really good peel. Just like it just buys you like an extra second or two of just some free space. Against Assassination Rogues, getting rid of all their poisons is really nice. And you could run into Survival Hunters, or really any hunter, just because this will also get rid of a Chimeral Sting. So it'll get rid of all the Chimeral Stings, which is actually pretty cool. So Boiling Cleanse Totem, not too bad against those classes. And then you have Creation Core versus Call of the Elements. I like Creation Core. Totem Recall will basically recall another totem. So you can pair like 2 totems that work really well together. Earthen Vault Totem, Healing Totem, reset them both. And you'll get them both back available. So you can Earthen again and Healing Totem again. Boom, you have double Earthen and double Healing Totem. A lot of defense, a lot of healing. Or you can take Call of the Elements, which will reduce the cooldown of Call of the Elements by a minute, so you'll have it more frequently throughout the match. I like Creation Core just because, placing a totem down and then recalling it kind of like feels like a little bit awkward, especially when you're far behind and you need to get your totems down. So being able to recall 2 totems, I think, kind of smooths that out a little bit, which is why I like Creation Core. But both talents are really good. Next up, we have our Shaman tree. Very small flex points. So Current Control and Tide Turner, Mana Tide, Spiritwalker Shadow Totem, they pretty much pair well together. You'll run one corresponding to the other. Tide Turner with Spiritwalker Shadow Totem, and then Mana Tide with Current Control. Tide Turner is really good because this makes it so your Healing Tide will heal for 30% more on the lowest health target, and it'll give them a 15% increased healing buff for 4 seconds. Really good, really powerful. Just make sure your response healing, your throughput healing, stronger, which is really good. And then Spiritwalker Shadow Totem will give you 3 instant cast healing surges that last for 30 seconds. It's pretty long duration, so you can kind of sit on them for a while. And will reduce its mana cost by 50%. Really good skill. Like I said in the beginning with the pros and cons, you lack a lot of burst and instant healing. This just helps you a lot. Really good talent. Then you have Mana Tide and Current Control. I pretty much run Current Control all the time in RPGs because Tide Turner, there's 10 people, Tide Turner is healing this guy, the lowest health target, the next guy who's the lowest health target, the next guy becomes the lowest health target. Don't get a whole lot of value or direct value that you'd want from Tide Turner. So Current Control is really good, reduces the cooldown of your Healing Tide by 4 to 5 seconds, which puts it down to a 1.5 minute cooldown, which is pretty strong. Just having a raid ride cooldown available every minute and a half. Raid ride cooldowns are usually like 3 minutes, 3-minute cooldowns, so really strong for RPGs. And then pairing that with Mana Tide. Mana Tide, I believe, restores a total of like 8 to like 10% of your mana. Don't quote me on that. Around there. So pretty good having that available every 1.5 minutes. Just kind of helps you and your other healers restore some bit of mana, just so you can, it increases your odds of winning the mana game compared to your enemy healers. Then you have this last point. I have in Wave Speaker's Blessing. You can actually put this in either this or Spouting Spirits. I keep it in Wave Speaker's Blessings pretty much 90% of the time. For Arena, just for the little bit of extra healing and the duration increase. For RPGs, it's the exact same thing. The duration increase, because there's multiple people, it helps maintain Riptides a little bit easier by having the duration be increased by 3 seconds. However, Spouting Spirits, I'm never impressed when I run Spouting Spirits, but it does have value if you know you're going to get a lot of value out of Spirit Link Totem. I never run this in Arena for the pure reason of they just kill Spirit Link Totem too fast for this to get any bit of value. It says this will restore, in PvP it's about 1 million health to all nearby allies 1 second after it's dropped. If this was the minute Spirit Link Totem is dropped, this will just restore everybody's health by 1 million, I'd run this 100%. But there are times, a lot of times, where your Spirit Link dies too quickly for that to even proc. So it also increases the damage deduction of your Spearling Totem by 5%, so bringing it up to a total of 15% damage reduction. But like I said, it gets killed so fast that you don't really get any value of it. However, in RBGs, very few people, even in high rating, kill Spearling Totem because there's just so much stuff on the screen, and they have better things to do than to worry about Spearling Totem, as they don't even bother with it. So you can get some value out of this, and the only time I'll run Spearling Totem is, or Spouting Spirits, is if I'm on a flag map and I'm on defense with my, I'm playing defense, or I'm in a close quarters map like Silver Shard Mines or Eye of the Storm with those middle fights, those close quarters fights. This Spouting Spirits is going to heal all those nearby targets, even if it's more than 5 targets. And everybody's going to get the benefit of the extra 5% damage reduction. So I pretty much run Spouting Spirits where I know I'm going to get a lot of value from it. But other than that, I pretty much have Wayspeaker's Blessings as my lock-in for this flex point. PvP talents stay pretty much the exact same, with some play of other talents. So primarily, these 3 talents are going to be what you're going to be running. Unleash Shield is a great 2's talent. It's pretty funny. 30-second cooldown. We're really only focusing on Earth Shield and Water Shield. This will basically use our elemental shields we have currently on ourselves to dish a certain effect onto the enemy. With the Earth Shield, it'll root the enemy in place for 2 seconds, and our Water Shield will summon a Whirlpool for 6 seconds that reduces damage and healing by 50% while they stand in it. On its own, it's very weak. The Whirlpool is actually very small. However, if you pair it with someone like a warrior who can get him in a spear and you will Unleash Shield them, they're doing 50% less healing and they're dealing 50% less damage. So that entire Spear Bastion duration with my Unleash Shield, yeah, they're just they're kind of cooked, honestly. They're really scared. So it's a pretty nasty little button. I only run it in 2s, never run it anywhere else. It's just it doesn't get value anywhere else besides 2. Burrow. If you really think you need the extra bit of defense, Burrow is great. 2-minute cooldown, you burrow under the ground, you become unattackable. You still take damage from dots, though. This removes the movement impairing effect, so you can burrow out of Root Beam, actually. And this will increase your movement speed by 50%. And when you come out of Burrow, you look really awesome, and you deal like 1 million damage, somewhere around 1 million damage to any enemies that are hit, and you'll knock them up in the air. So it's a bit of extra defense. It's basically your version of Netherwalk. And the last one is Totem of Wrath. Totem of Wrath is decent. I really only run this in RPGs. If I feel like I don't really need Static Field Totem or Grounding Totem, I'll run Totem of Wrath because I play with a lot of casters or with a lot of spell damage on my team. Gives them that 50% extra critical effect on your damage and healing spells. Resto Shaman, rotation. It's fairly simple. First thing we're going to go over is your Earth Shield. This is going to be your main buff that you're going to be keeping track on. Earth Shield is this buff that will place this nice little earthen shield to protect the friendly target. It increases your healing on that target by 20%, and whenever they take damage, they'll get some healing from your Earth Shield. That'll proc every 3 seconds. This lasts an hour, so I can have one on me, as well as my target due to the Elemental Orbit talent. So who do you want to have this Earth Shield on? It's pretty simple. It's going to be the primary kill target. Whichever target is going to be the kill target, that's who you want to have your Earth Shield on. So whether you're playing Cupid, whether you're playing Red Warrior, whether you're playing, Warlock SP, or even Mage SP, it's going to be whoever's going to be taking the most damage. So it's going to be on your Shadow Priest if you're facing a Red Warrior, because Warriors love SPs. But if you're playing a Cupid, then you're going to want to have that Earth Shield on your Cupid, because nobody wants to have a free casting at M Hunter. But it's just by how the game goes. Whoever is currently going to be a target of focus, then that's who you're going to keep Earth Shield on. In RBGs, same thing applies. Whoever is currently taking the most damage, whoever is the prior kill target on your team, that's who you're going to keep Earth Shield on. However, if you're playing a flag carrier map, then the Earth Shield goes in your flag carrier. Most of the time it's going to be your tank. So going to keep the minis of your tank, even if you're not on defense, the minis of your tank, if you got to escort him, then you got to place Earth Shield on them. That's the prior target you want to keep your Earth Shield on. Next up is your main button, which is Riptide. Riptide is a heal over time that has 6-second recharge, 3 charges. It does instant healing. This is going to be your main heal that you're pressing over and over and over and over again. Pretty amazing skill. Now, yes, it does instant healing, and I'm going to be pressing this Riptide on the target that is taking damage, much like I do with any other healing spell. It is still a heal over time, and you want to spread it. There's benefit in spreading Riptides because you have stuff like Undercurrent and Whispering Waves. Undercurrent increases your heals by 1% for each Riptide. So you see here, I Riptide, a Riptide, a Riptide, Riptide. I have 5 Riptides out, which means I have 5% increased healing. This is a really important modifier, especially in RBGs. So for Arena, very simple. Riptide on me, Riptide on my 2 DPS, boom, I have 3% extra healing the entire game. But in RBGs, you want to make sure you're spreading your Riptides to benefit off Undercurrents, also benefiting off Whispering Waves. 15% of your healing waves healing from you and your ancestors is duplicated onto each of your targets with Riptide. So this is one of your main sources of spread healing. Very important for those Riptides. If you can't, if you're too busy focusing on one target to heal, because this target is just taking the most amount of damage, then don't worry about spreading Riptides during that time. Just dump Riptides into your guy. You know, you worry about spreading Riptides later when they're not currently dying. Unleash Life is our spell enhancer. Every healer has this. They have, Thunder Focus Tea for Mistweaver, Holy Prism, Divine Favor for Holy Paladin, Swift Bend for Resto Druid. Every healer has a spell like this. This is our version. Unleash Life, 15-second cooldown. It's a direct heal that enhances one of our following spells. We're only going to focus on the first one, which is Riptide, Healing Wave, or Healing Surge. 35% increased healing. So you're going to be using this whenever you can. You're going to be spamming Unleash Life pretty much off CD, because as FARSEER, this will proc your ancestor. So that just gives it all the more importance to make sure you're pressing this off CD. But in terms of the corresponding spells, Prio is going to be Riptide, Unleash Life, Riptide, pretty amazing. One thing to know about Riptide is that when Riptide's healing is increased, it'll also increase the heal over time. So you see on this target, this Riptide is healing for 44,945. I don't know where the 5 came from, but for 4,500, I Riptide him again. Guess what? It overrides that Unleashed Life Riptide I had on him, and so it's only healing for 33,000. Keep that in mind when you are Unleashed Life Riptiding. Try not to override your Riptide. Pretty much use that Unleashed Life Riptide on like a target that you're not going to be healing, just so they have a much more powerful hot, just to keep them safe while you're focusing on the other targets. Going over your casted heals, you have Healing Surge and Healing Wave. Very standard. Healing Surge is your quick heal, costs a lot of mana. Healing Wave is your slow heal, but does a lot of healing, and it costs less mana, especially when you factor in stuff like Whispering Waves. So, get Riptides out here. Whenever you need the healing, you are going to be casting... I'm going to cancel this sentence. I can't, unfortunately. Whenever you need the healing, you're going to be casting Healing Waves. Hell, maybe even throw in an Unleashed Life to buff your Healing Wave that much more. But if your target is just dying, and you need something quick right now, guess what? Healing Surge. Healing Surge is pretty damn nice. Hell, you can combine that with an Unleashed Life for it to do 35% more healing. Really great. On the topic of your casted heals, you have a very important modifier called Tidal Waves. Whenever you Riptide, you'll get Tidal Waves. This will enhance your casted heals. This will make it so your Healing Wave has a reduced cast time, so that slow cast time becomes just a little bit faster. And your Healing Surge will have a 30% increased critical effect chance. So keep that in mind, making sure that whenever you go for those casted heals, you make sure you get Riptide out there first, just so you have your Tidal Wave stacks. Healing Stream Totem, very important. 24-second recharge. Summons a totem at the feet of the caster for 18 seconds that heals an injured party or raid member within 46 yards for 87,000 every 1.8 seconds. It does its max healing initially, and then will start decaying with the Living Stream talent. You have 2 charges, they last 18 seconds. You're pretty much going to be placing a Healing Stream Totem down and placing your next Healing Stream Totem when your current Healing Stream Totem expires. This is to help space out your Healing Stream Totems to ensure you have a Healing Stream Totem available. You don't want to double stream. You're going to get a lot of healing out of that, but guess what? You're going to have some gaps where you don't have healing totem available, and that's just going to feel pretty lame. So you're going to feel really light on healing. So healing totem may not feel like a lot. It's just this little guy that does a bit of healing to all these amazing folks out here, but he does a good job, and so it's important to just space him out. The only times where double streaming is fine and dandy is if you just need the recovery healing. If you're super far behind on healing, it's completely fine to just double stream. Completely fine. Completely fine. Ancestral Swiftness is the bread and butter of FARSEER. Lumping this in with your rotation. 30-second cooldown. Very easily accessible with the short cooldown. Very powerful as well. This is a very powerful instant heal. Makes your next healing or damaging spell instant, cost no mana, and that spell will deal 10% increased damage or healing. This will summon an ancestor for 6 seconds. So you get one answer from Ancestor Swiftness, get another ancestor from your 2-set proc. Swiftness summons an empowered ancestor for 15 seconds. That deals 10% increased damage and healing. So you get 2 ancestors. You're going to be combining this with your Unleashed Life. So you're going to be getting a total of 3 ancestors. Kind of got lucky with that proc there. So you're pretty much going to be using this heal whenever you just need that big burst in healing. Got to send this proc there too. Got 4 ancestors out. I mean, this is just amazing. That's just a lot of healing right there. But yeah, you're pretty much using that whenever you need the healing. Try not to use it off CD, because this is a really big heal, and without this heal, you know, the game can get very unstable. So try not to use this off CD. Just use it when you really need the healing. If your target is above like 60% HP, you know, you can just kind of top them off and keep them stable with just Riptides and Healing Waves. But when they're falling below that 50% threshold, you know, dropping down to 40%, and eventually the execute range, then you're definitely going to want to get that NS Healing Wave out there. To go over it all again, very simple, keeping an Earth Shield on that prio target, and just spreading those Riptides out there. Maybe even getting an enhanced Riptide on one of your teammates, getting an Ancient Totem down there, and you're just dunking Riptides out there on that target. You need some bit of extra healing, castle Healing Waves. If he's suddenly getting hit with a big burst of damage and he's just dropping below, you can just get those healing surges out there. They'll be very quick, and hopefully when they crit, it'll do some pretty massive healing. Healing Totems have to come off cooldown. Boom, plop my Healing Totem again. I need a big burst of healing. I can NS Healing Wave. Very simple rotation. Nothing really all too complicated about it. It just requires some Healing Totem management and potential Earth Shield management if you feel like you need to swap Earth Shields up throughout the game. So now we're going to go over the cooldown rotation. We have 4 cooldowns in our cooldown arsenal. Earthen Wall Totem, Healing Tide Totem, Ascendant, and Spirit Link. They're very simple when it comes to when you want to use them and how you use them. When it comes to healer cooldowns, it's very simple. It's shortest to longest cooldowns, because the shorter cooldowns will rotate quicker. First up, you have Earthen Wall Totem. 54-second cooldown. Summons a totem with 60% of my total health. And it lasts for 18 seconds. This will shave off a bit of damage from each attack and redirect it to the totem. So I place it down here. I don't know, this game's bad. Place it down here. You see these 2 targets are affected by Earthen Wall Totem. Every single attack, this is an auto attack, spells, any attack will be will have its damage cut off by a little bit. You see here on the tooltip it says 29,000. In PvP it's about like 50,000 damage off of each attack, redirected to the totem. So the way you're using this cooldown, I pretty much use it off CD. I try to get it down there as quickly as possible. The reason for this is because you can't put too much faith in it. It's a cooldown that scales pretty badly, so if you played Resto Shaman in the past, it was very strong. Nowadays, it almost feels like it does nothing, no matter how high it is in my details. It's kind of just pad. So I pretty much don't overestimate this cooldown. I pretty much place it the minute I have it available, because the worst thing ever as Resto Shaman is trying to get Earthen down when you're far behind on healing. You want every global to be Riptide, every global to be some form of healing, and trying to get Earthen Wall Totem down when you're super far behind. That extra second of not pressing Riptide is, it's death, it's game over. So getting Earthen Wall down as quick as possible, especially in the opener, it lasts for so long, nobody's going to sit there and wait out your earthen wall, so they're simply just going to hit into it. Lasts a long time. I get earthen wall down before I get storm bolted, I get opened by the rogue, or I get, rate cloned, whatever it is. My earthen wall is down. My team has some bit of defense as I'm CC'd for that opener, and then following the game, just pretty much having it down whenever it comes off cooldown. Next up is Healing Tide. Healing Tide is the best response cooldown out of your toolkit. 2.2 minute cooldown, has a lot of modifiers like the Tide Turner. This will, your Healing Tide healing is increased by 30% when it heals the lowest health target, and will give them a 15% increased healing received buff from me for 4 seconds. Really powerful. Combining this with Living Tide, which reduces the cooldown of your Healing Tide by 45 seconds and has it pulse for 25% more each time it pulses. Sorry, it does more healing every time it pulses. Mixed up my words there. On top of Spearwalker Saddle Totem, which gives us 3 instant cast healing surges that last 30 seconds. That's a long time. You can kind of, hold on to these healing surges for a while. With 50% reduced mana cost, yeah, Healing Tide has become better than ever this expansion. So this is your best response cooldown when healing through that initial burst of damage in that opener, that Incarn, the Wings, the Warbreaker avatar, getting that healing totem down. You see these guys have, getting that healing. I don't know which one of these guys has a Tide Turner, because they're all the lowest health target, technically. But, yeah, getting those healing surges out there, the Healing Tide's ticking, maybe even pop Unleashed Life with my healing surge there. Yeah, it's just a lot of healing, so this is the best response cooldown. Next up is Ascendance. Ascendance, 3 minute cooldown, lasts 18 seconds. This duplicates the healing I'm doing at 70% effectiveness, and will go on to my party and raid, evenly distributed amongst my teammates. So really nice for spread healing. That's primarily what you're going to be saving Ascendance for. This is your cooldown following Healing Tide Totem to combat spread damage. So whether you're facing some form of cleave, spell cleave, rot cleave, Feral Druid, Asa Rogues, Shadow Priests, Afflocks, you're facing that cleave damage, or you're simply just facing just heavy cleave with like a melee cleave, like a Windwalker DK, or a DH DK, or a Rat Warrior. They're cleaving down your team. Ascendance is going to be that healing to stabilize the spread pressure, because it's duplicating all that healing. So really powerful. Pop the Ascendance, get all that healing out there. See, everybody's getting that healing because it's getting duplicated in all those targets. Yeah, it's a lot of healing. So really good, especially combined with Preeminence. Your haste is increased by 25% while Ascendance is active, and its duration is increased by 3 seconds. Yeah, it's pretty powerful. It makes Ascendance feel like a much better cooldown. Spirit Link Totem is your last cooldown to be thrown out there. This is your lifeline cooldown, your land hands, your life swap. 3 minute cooldown, summons a totem at the target location for 6 seconds, which reduces damage taken by all party and raid members within 11 yards by 10%. Immediately, every 1 second, the health of all affected players is redistributed evenly. So Spirit Link Totem is very vulnerable. There's a lot of countermeasures and just a lot of things you have to work around when it comes to Spirit Link. One, it's your lifeline cooldown, meaning this is going to be your last cooldown to be traded. So hopefully this is going to be paired with your Trinket. If not, it's not the end of the world, but you ideally want to have Trinket ready for your Spirit Link. So whenever your DPS is about to die, they're getting goad on, their health is constantly dropping to the execute range. That's when you want to get your Spirit Link Totem down there. Spirit Link, boom. We're all Spirit Linked. We're all gonna have our health redistributed to be even. If you're at 10% HP and I'm at 100% HP, I get in that link where our HP is gonna go to 50%, somewhere around there. Cool. However, there's a lot of things you gotta work around when it comes to your Spirit Link Totem. One of them is the immediate effect. Spirit Link can be killed, so you're pretty much only using this cooldown for the instant effect, the instant health redistribution effect of Spirit Link Totem. So you want to make sure that your team is stacked before you place your Spirit Link Totem. If you place a Spirit Link Totem on your target and your other DPS has to run in to get a Spirit Link Totem, at that point, it's probably too late. Spirit Link Totem is going to be dead instantly. Second thing about Spilling Totem that you gotta overcome is the recovery healing. Remember, sure, you redistribute everybody's health. That's great. Now you have to recover everybody's health. All our health is even now, but most likely, because this is going to be your last cooldown to be traded, you're not going to have Ascendant, and you're not going to have Healing Tide, so you need to recover your health quick, or else you are going to get overrun. So, bombing out those Riptides. Hopefully NS Healing Wave is available. Double streaming if you have to. And then counter CC, whether that's just static charge or cap stun with your static field totem moving them away. Your DPS hopefully has some, an AoE blind, AoE stun, or their own mobility to get out. You have to recover. That's the big hurdle of Spilling Totem. There's a lot of hurdles you have to overcome with my main cooldown, which should be my Saving Grace cooldown. But that's just the unfair life the Resto Shaman has to live. Utility. Resto Shaman is known to be the utility king. We got a lot of utilities. Let's go over the main ones. We have Tremor Totem. Absolutely amazing skill. 54-second cooldown. This will break your team out of all fear, charm, and sleep effects. Really powerful. I think this is the thing I like about Resto Shaman is that its toolkit remains unique. Other healers get toolkits and they kind of work similarly to other healers, whereas Resto Shaman is still has its own unique utility kit. Really cool. Tremor's awesome. Your team gets Warrior feared because the Warrior's scared and he wants to defensively fear. Break your team out as that, and boom, they're back and ready to get back into the action. You can use Tremor to break yourself out of fears. If you pre-Tremor, a Warrior leaps on top of you, fears you, or a Priest is running at you, chastises you, fears you, whatever it is, or a Dragon is flying at you with a Sleepwalk casting in your face. With Tremor Totem, the effects hit you, boom, I get out of it. Pretty awesome. Grounding Totem, absolutely amazing. 24-second cooldown. Redirects all harmful spells aimed at me or my allies. Redirects it to the totem for 3 seconds. This will absorb, CC effects and spell damage and interrupts. So interrupts like Mind Freeze or even silences as well. Strangulate, silence from a Shadow Priest, a counterspell from a Warlock or a Mage, anything spell related, it's going to absorb. Hammer of Justice from a Paladin. It's really great. You can really see that with my toolkit, I'm able to keep not only myself, but my team out of CC. That's the benefits of playing with Resto Shaman. Your team can stay out of CC, which means we can still hold that pressure. Next up is Wind Shear, another way to keep my team out of CC. 12-second cooldown. The only healer with a range interrupt, I guess besides like Feral Druid, Resto Druid with Skull Bash, but Skull Bash takes him to the enemy, so it's a range interrupt that takes you into melee range. But yeah, Wind Shear, healer with the range interrupt, 12-second cooldown, 2-second lockout. It may not seem like that big of a deal. Wow, I'm locked out of my spell skill for 2 seconds. May not seem like that big of a deal, but it's still just disruption, and it's very annoying just constantly getting locked by a shaman. A Resto Shaman at that. So, making sure you're having kicks on clones, or fears, or polymorphs, or sleeps. Again, keeping your team out of CC. I got Tremor Totem, I got Grounding Totem, I got Wind Shear. I got it all in this coat right here, baby. Pick what you want, I got you. So, really powerful utility there. Static Field Totem, absolutely amazing. For defensiveness, you can use it to peel for your casters if they're getting too loud with the damage and you want to get them away from your casters. Just place the Static Field Totem down, get them away. Sure, it may not seem like that long because you can actually just kill Static Field Totem and then boom, you're right back on the caster. Maybe even combining it with like a Cap Stun and even Earth Grab. Just buy your team some bit of time. If it's a melee that's getting hit, then same thing. You just get whoever's on them, whether it's Feral Druid or an Aceroke, and just boop, port them away. Buys your melee some bit of relief. Really good skill. For Battlegrounds, it's the exact same thing. Porting them off, or hell, you are rolling with your flag carrier, and they need help. Static Field Totem on top of them, move whoever's on top of them away from your flag carrier. It's just an amazing skill. It has so many uses, and it's honestly my favorite skill in World of Warcraft history. So, Thunderstorm, specifically with Traveling Storm. Naturally, Thunderstorm is just a knockback 30-second cooldown, knocks enemies on top of you away from you. and it attaches a pretty nasty little slow on them. However, with Traveling Storms, this makes it so it's usable on your teammate. So this is just another bit of utility you can have. Melee around them, yes, with Traveling Storms, knock them away. It's pretty nice. It increases the knockback as well as the movement speed. So, really cool. Again, Thunderstorm is usable while stunned, so even if I am stunned, you know what? I take back what I said earlier about the usable while stunned abilities. Thunderstorm actually does have one, it's Thunderstorm. May not be an actual cooldown, but it's something. So if I'm stunned by Stormbolt, or I am cheap-shotted, or maimed, whatever it may be, I can still target my teammate and just... Okay, he's not a player. I can still target my teammate. This lovely... You're a Void Elf. This lovely... You're an Night Elf. This lovely Robo or Connor here. I cast Thunderstorm on him, and it'll knock all these robes away. Unfortunately, Thunderstorm is still bugged, so not only does it not have audio, it also doesn't have an animation. So, it's really lame. But yeah, really good utility there. Now we have offense. This is whatever we're doing when we have the free time to get some offense out there. It's not as complex and impactful as other healers, but we still have things to do. One of them is your damage. You have Flame Shock, yeah, Lava Burst. Flame Shock actually does some pretty decent dot damage, not gonna lie. So I get PvP combat here. Flame Shock this bozo. We can see how much damage it's doing. I mean, 700,000 damage ain't too bad for that. But we can throw some Lava Burst in there as well. Again, your Flame Shocks will also proc your Lava Surge, so you can get some instant cast Lava Burst out there, like I just did right there. You have Ancestors out available. Guess what they do? They also cast Lava Burst as well. So whenever I am using an offensive skill, like Flame Shock or Lava Burst or Lightning Bolt, they will also cast Lightning Bolt, or they'll also cast Lava Burst. So you see here, I'm about to tee off on this guy. Flame Shock. I get 3 Ancestors out. Boom. We're all Lava Burst in this fool. Yeah, he's done. You have Purge. Purge is absolutely awesome. Again, I run Greater Purge. I personally prefer Greater Purge over normal Purge because it's just cooler and better in every single way. 30-yard range, 12-second cooldown. Purge, 2 beneficial magic effects. You can use it rotationally. So, you know, I'm healing this guy. Rip-tatting him, get my big old heal out there. You know, boom. I see this guy. Purge. You know, get some damage rolling out there because my team's kind of stable. You can use some good amount down there as well. We're doing all this amazing healing. Getting a powered Riptide on my friend here. Okay, it didn't even work. Getting a powered Riptide on my friend here. And then, boom, I purge him. So, weaving in those purges is really great. If you can't, if you're too far behind on healing, don't focus on purging. You know, just you know, use all those globals for healing and recovery. Earth Grab Totem, possibly one of the most annoying skills in the game. It's just a better version of Mass Entanglement. Earth Grab Totem replaces your Earthbind Totem, 24-second cooldown, last 30 seconds. See these guys over here? Or see these guys over here? Boom, Earth Grab them. Yeah, they're rooted. It's pretty nasty. And Earth Grab also is affected by, like, the root damage threshold, so it doesn't break instantly. It takes a little bit of damage to actually break, which is really cool. So, lasts a long time. And because of the way Earth Grab works, if I'm to move it to someone that isn't affected by Earth Grab yet, guess what? I move it to these guys, guess what's going to happen? They're all going to get rooted. All got rooted. Unfortunately, this DK kind of ruined my swag and broke my roots. But you see how annoying that can be. You're just rooting these guys. The healer's over here looking too safe and free. Guess what? I root him over there. You know what? I want to be a dick to him. I can capstone him. I want to be even more nasty to him. Guess what? I knock him away. It's pretty awesome. You know, and I lasso our kill target right here. And the game's over. Static Field Totem. Gotta say it again. Static Field Totem, which is absolutely awesome. When it comes to the offensive potential for Static Field Totem, stacking enemies together, moving enemies out of LOS out of their healer, or moving the healer out of LOS of his DPS. You know, it's absolutely amazing. You know, let's say there's this big stack over here. Let's say these two are the enemy healers, and we see this big stack in RBG. They're looking too safe and free. Guess what I want to do? We have my DK bursting right here. Look at this. I bring those healers in. Oops, I didn't mean to get that there. I throw a capstone on top of that. Boom. They're all stunned. They're all stacked together. My DK is going ham. It's nasty. So, really good force moving my enemies. into a dangerous position. Using this for LOS. Let's say this pillar here is like an arena pillar. The healer's over here being all, all healing, and healing is his allies. Guess what I can do? I can root him. I can static field the DPS that are right here. Boom, port him behind the pillar. Enemies still rooted. Or mastery. Hex cast while moving. I can throw a lasso if I wanted to. I can knock him away even. It's a lot of disruption with static field totem, and it just takes a bit of creativity of your shaman mind to maximize the static field totem efficiency. And there you have it. That is my Resto Shaman guide for the War Within Season 3. This is week 2. Like I said, it's very early in this season, so anything can change. New Resto Shaman builds can come out. Tunings can change as the way you play Resto Shaman. But currently, this is what I have found to work for me on the Restoration Shaman. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and of course if you want to see more guides, potentially on other healers like my Holy Priest or my Holy Paladin, then definitely let me know. The way to let me know is by commenting it and liking this video to get this video into the algorithm. Would really appreciate it. And of course, if there's anything that I have talked about in this video that you want some more clarification on, maybe there's something that I didn't talk about in this video and you want an answer for it, definitely leave it in the comment section and I'll try my best to give you a clarified answer. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Alright, peace!